Welcome to Chase Across Sea Radio, where we discuss the unidentified, the unexplainable, paranormal, conspiracies, and much more. Starring your hosts and co-hosts, Eddie Nicasio, Sean Kelly, Trish Lowe, and Jason Sledgehammer Ryan Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on UPRN Network, FM 105.3, New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. Remember to like us and subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. Well, it's February 22, 2022. The biggest numerology event of the century. Well, history anyways. Mm-hmm. And the return of 1976, if you do 2 times 2, something with the power, you come out with 17 is 76. And the Greek god Pluto makes his appearance back. And yeah, for the next 2 years. And it's George Washington's birthday. What do you think, guys? I think the universe is trying to tell us
Torture Tuesday.
Yes, it's going to be a torture one tonight.
Yep. So Lincoln's birthday was February 12th.
Okay, there you go.
Whose birthday?
Lincoln.
And
Washington's was the 22nd.
Okay, Trish, now I'm going to ask you this. What do you think the universe is trying to tell us? And it's just kind of weird. I don't like to bring up the politics, but this is current events. And with the ominous impending invasion from Russia into Ukraine, don't you think Putin, he kind of picked a good day to do this? I mean,
so especially with Pluto being, and this will be the first time since since the U.S. was founded in 1776 that's been in alignment. But the difference is, twos are about duality. There's two sides to everything. So when we were founded, we as a country, we had a lot to learn. And this is with any of the countries, Russia, even the planet, obviously, we're always growing. But as far as the U.S. goes, I think one of the big things and why this is, a lot of people see it as negative, but I think it's kind of exciting as a positive outlook, because when we were founded, when they signed the Declaration of Independence, in 1776, it was based on all men are created equal. Mm-hmm. But as our country went, that wasn't the case back then at all. There was still so much racism, sexism, culturism, everything you can think of. And so what Pluto, the planetary alignment of Pluto, means, it's death and rebirth, new beginnings. Mm-hmm. So it kind of flips the script. And as we know in the US anyways, I mean, we still have a long ways to go, but we have overcome a lot of the people that signed the Declaration. I think it was based mostly on upper to middle class white political men. So we've come a long way since then. And I think having kind of a restart, a reset,
absolutely,
is important, for our future. And so what we do now will determine what happens.
Well, Jason, do you agree with her on that?
My microphone messed up. I couldn't.
Sean, he didn't get his nap today.
I didn't get my nap today.
Sean, what do you think? Do you agree?
I guess. I don't know. To me, it's an awakening. I guess.
It is. It's
an awakening, because as you were explaining all that numerical stuff, I bet you numerologists are having a field day today.
They are. It's all over it's all over the place.
Is it an awakening of what's going on, and something probably going to happen pretty soon?
Something is happening. And we feel it. I think we all feel it leading us up to tonight's show. And it's funny. It's the twos on Tuesday. It just seems like it's just a lot of weird stuff going on out there. And I just want to mention this segment is brought to you by Old Timey Crimey. Old Timey Crimey is a historical true crime podcast hosted by Chrissy and Amber. They have over 150 episodes ranging from the infamous crimes like those of Jack the Ripper, and they dig into the weird and wild with detail and facts. And what I like about this show is their energy and humor while telling a good crime story. We all like those. I know I do. And the one I found to be really interesting is Chicago, 1933. A young man is kidnapped and his father will go to great lengths to get him back. And everybody knows if you're a father, you'll do anything to get your kids back. And one of my favorites is when Chrissy tells Amber the story of Mary Averly, a little girl with the best nickname ever. Mary tore up the streets in San Francisco in the late 1800s. Or Sean and Jason, I know you like train robberies, but the one from 1915 is a good episode. 3 men try to pull off a daring train heist in West Virginia, my favorite place, for one last big haul, and they missed the mark by a lot. So if you enjoyed our paranormal investigations shows, especially the ones with Sean and Jason, you're going to love Old Timey Crimey. True crime is better in black and white, with over 150 episodes from full length to bonus mini episodes, and there's plenty to binge on. So you'll find a link on our social media platform, and there's a sample on the website too. Old Timey Crimey, where they know that the good old days weren't always good. Whew, that's a lot to put in there. So check them out. And like I said, today is February 22, 2022. Tuesday today.
Yeah. Every day this week is the same forwards as it is backwards. So that's
yes.
cool.
And we have a fabulous lineup tonight. So grab yourself a drink, get some popcorn. I know I got my drink. Take a sip. And enjoy the show. So tonight we have a friend of ours that was on the show before, Marty. I hope I don't mess up his last name. Sean, do you know how to pronounce it? Eddington. I'm really bad with
Sorry, Marty, if I messed it up.
Well, Marty's interest in the paranormal, spirituality, and much more goes back to his childhood. He has many paranormal experiences and has been a student of Eastern philosophies and meditation for 35 years. That's a lot. Seeking enlightenment. He knows that we are already all enlightened, and we just have to realize that deeply. So all his books are pretty cool. So why don't you check them out? So we're going to bring him onto the show. I just got to find him in my little, there he goes. So welcome back to Chasing Prophecy, Marty.
Hey, good to be back with you guys. You're fun and knowledgeable. It's fun to be with you. Thank you.
Welcome to Torture Tuesday.
Welcome to 222s.
Okay.
2022. Yeah, Marty. So we have a really cool show tonight about how you longevity and how you can live. And we'll go ahead and tell about your book, and you have the floor, dear.
Okay. So I'll give you some of the history first of how I got into this topic. And by the way, my website is mkettingtonbooks.com, mkettingtonbooks.com. I got that in. Anyway, back in 2009, I was looking for a good topic to write about. I had just started becoming a serious writer, and I was interested in all the claims and articles of people who had lived well over 100. I wanted to know, was that true? And as you know, the limit given by the Guinness Book of World Records for somebody to have lived to was Jean Calumet. They said she lived to 122. Some still argue with that. But in my research, I found hundreds of records of people all over the world. And these people were in their 120s, 130s, 140s, all the way up to plus 200. So I'll mention one of them. One of my favorites is Shirley Mislamov, who lived in a province near the Black Sea. And he was actually profiled in the 70s by National Geographic. So there's more than one source for him, but supposedly he lived to 167. And I mean, he would be out in his orchard and climbing the tree and everything every day. So the guy had amazing longevity. And then if we go further, and again, I'm skipping, there's a lot of really interesting characters. Have you ever heard of Lai Ching-yang, a Chinaman named Lai Ching-yang?
Nope.
No, I haven't.
he was actually profiled in the New York Times, and I think it was 1932, that this guy had lived to 256 years old, if you can believe that. And he had been an herbalist for the first 100 years, and supposedly certain herbs like ginseng and other things like that help people live longer. He also had 23 wives. He outlived
23 wives. That's a good one.
Damn.
Interesting.
Probably why he lived to be so.
So I
How
wrote my
many
first.
kids?
So I wrote my first book on the top. I don't know how many kids. I wrote my first book on the topic called Physical Immortality: History and How-To Guide, and I tried to find everything I could about longevity and why people can live longer. And I actually spent years learning more and thinking more about it and writing more books. And I guess my ultimate book on the topic, which was about 2014, was titled The 10 Principles of Personal Longevity. And these are 10 principles I put together that people can follow to help them live longer. And in fact, I even have a whole website for it called personal-longevity.com. But anyway, if I might, can I mention a couple of these principles? I won't dwell on them. I just thought I'd go through them quickly. Okay. So the first one is that real long-lived people exist. And you can see this from the books I've written, that these people they're real records of long-lived people. But the second thing relates to a question that Sean had for me when we were talking before the show, which was, why would people want to live any longer?
Right.
And that's a good question. And in fact, I put the second principle was you had to define your purpose in life. If you don't have a purpose in life, especially when you're older, you're likely to just drop dead. And there are ways to work on defining your purpose in life. I mean, when you're 80 years old, the purpose in life might be your kids, or if you don't have kids, it might be a pet, or it might be something you do in the senior home. And then very quickly, some of the other ones: enable your life urge, the importance of spiritual connection. Now, this is something I found that was very important in a lot of these very old people. Not saying what religion they are, but they have some type of spiritual connection in their life, whether they're Christian or Islamic or Buddhist. They all seem to have a spiritual life. And to me, there's really three elements of why people live a long time. It's an integration of their spirit, mind, and body. And the more people can work on their spiritual connection, the longer they'll live. And just really quickly mentioning some of the other ones: having love in your heart, activating your vital forces, the science of longevity, keeping your physical body healthy. And there's a lot of things you can do with diets and supplements there. And then one thing I put in, which is unusual because of my experience with prophecy, was using your intuition to stay safe. Because if you think about it, longer you live, what's going to kill you? It's more likely accidents are going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways everybody can use exercises, mental exercises, to see good or bad futures and even to learn to avoid things. So I put that in. And then the 10th principle is all about how you learn all these things and apply them to your life. So that's pretty much a broad 30,000-foot view of how I got into this.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions so far?
John, you have any questions? Jason?
Nope.
Trish?
Martin, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, if anybody has a question or comment for Marty or any of us, give us a call at 889-857-4738. Sorry, went too fast. So it's on the banner, the phone number, if you have a question or comment. Go ahead, Trish.
Martin, do you think it's more difficult in this day and age for people to stay connected to spirituality with, I mean, there's internet and satellites literally everywhere in the world now. So
that's a really good question. And I think, as you know, that people in this country and other European countries are not that active in religion these days. I mean, the percentage of people active has gone way down in the last 50 years. But on the other hand, people are involved in certain churches, modern age churches, or they get into practices like meditation. And meditation brings a lot of these benefits and your spiritual growth to your own body. So I think there's still a lot of active interest in building our spiritual connection, which is so important for everything. But it's not probably through traditional vehicles anymore.
I still can't get over the fact that who would want to live that long? Personally, me, I don't want to live that long.
You get to enjoy more retirement.
Well, yeah, and
that's
then,
true.
but you also got to remember too, the life insurance will be no longer good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
So there's a lot of things that I look into it because I was really, not meditating, but really was in really deep thinking that I don't think I could do it. So I'm more interested in hearing what you have to say today, Bart.
I think Joe says he's
Yeah.
feeling hot. Well, if you
Out here in California, go ahead.
I was just saying, if you live to be that long, like Sean says, it's kind of depressing because all your friends are gone. And how do you know for sure these people actually live to be 250 or 100? I mean, 160. I mean, is there any proof that they lived that long? Or is it just when you say 100 years old, you mean, or, if that's what you're saying, like 116, I've seen that. But
well, part of the problem is birth records, because up until World War II, even in this country, there were no solid records of people's births. And the reason that they occurred was a lot of people had to have security clearances for the World War II work. But it's really hard to tell if they're real records of people. But the thing is, when you find so many records of people and you find so many different lives that you're talking about, it's like the depth of the evidence, the consistency of the evidence that these people lived really long times. That's what I go by. In fact, that's one of my rules. I look for patterns in what I study. And if I find patterns of people on a particular topic or evidence on a particular topic, I tend to go with it. If that answers the question.
Yeah,
yeah. It answers the question, but do you have proof that you don't have any proof that these people are that old? Oh,
well, what type of proof would we look for? I mean, if a lot of them didn't even have birth records, that were legal birth records, what do we use? It's a matter of how do you prove something like that, or how do you disprove something like that?
How many wrinkles do they have?
Marty, this is a good.
It's been documented throughout history. I mean, since the beginning of time, just in writing. I mean, there's no proof really, but as far as even back during Egyptian times, there's legends of people living 500, even that long, so.
If you look at the Bible, there's a long list of people who lived many hundreds of years in the Bible, like Methuselah, who lived into his 900s.
Yeah, in the Bible, there's tons of them.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, on that note, like in the Bible and stuff, do you think when they're referring to these people living that long, are they referring to them living that long in the same body, in the same shell?
That's what it says. I mean,
transference of.
I mean, that's a good question, but I don't try and interpret it differently. That's just what it says. It's a straight out thing. And it talks about even some well-known prophets like Moses. He supposedly lived well over 100, 120 or 130. Yeah. So there's some very long-lived people in our world. In fact, I want to mention another one. There was a profile I did in 2013 from a book called Wonders of Mebegon Village. And this is about a guy who was supposedly a monk in Myanmar who was born in the year 908, and he's still alive. Now, that's almost impossible to believe, but they actually have a picture of the guy, and he's all wrapped up in a cloth wrap, but you can see his face. And the claim is that he's a monk who's still alive, and he comports with other monks, some of whom are 500 or 600 years old. There's a lot of stories, but again, you got to get to the believability issue. A lot of people in today's world just refuse to believe these claims. And even when there's articles about somebody who had a birthday who was 150 years old, they just refuse to believe it because that's our mindset. But that's all about being open-minded, like I'm sure most of you are, that there's a lot more in this world that is strange and unexpected than we would think.
Yeah, like why couldn't it be possible when you figure, another thing that would probably be a contributing factor is look at like foods today, the amount of stress, and everybody has to work themselves to death just to survive. Right. Like all the preservatives and just junk that we put in our bodies and all the stress we have to endure and just work ourselves to the grave. That's why we can't live that long.
True.
I think that's a choice, though.
What's
So
that?
I thought at this point I'd get into my meeting this immortal, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go.
So when I started marketing my book, Physical Immortality, History and How-To Guide, I used several online social media sites. And one of them I used also had an online discussion where anybody could connect and make their own comments. And for about 6 months, this was pretty normal. And then I started getting a guy on there named Stealth, that was his nickname, who claimed that he was actually born in 812 BC. And I'd just like to read very quickly a couple of things he said about himself. So he said he had a small childhood, a good one, peaceful, happy. Mother and father were simple farmers. Father was also a deer, sheep, hunter, herder. And he was born in Elgin, Scotland. And if you add the dates, because he'd had some other previous things he said, it would be 812 BC. That he lived in a small house with a wooden hay bed, brick fireplace walls, small kitchen area. They died young. He was 18, and they were about 45. And he also says that he became immortal after age 20. He moved to Ireland and he became one of the deities, Lu. Have you ever heard of the god Lu?
No.
He was an ancient god of the Tuatha De Danann, the predecessors of the elves and of others of Ireland. And then he says some other really interesting things which really caught me. And the other people came in for the discussion also. There were about 7 or 8 people that also claimed they were immortals. So he says, I met over 170 other immortals dating from 20,000 years old to 110 years old around the earth. Gods are another league. I've met 15 gods and goddesses who are mostly Norse Celtic gods. That there are at least 2,000 of us out of your 7 billion human beings do the exact same thing as me, jobs, names. Some still hide in mountains and forests. So this was his claim. And there was, of course, a lot more discussion because the discussion went on for over 6 months. And that's why I wrote the book. I wrote the book, which is the commentaries of living immortals, and put all this discussion in there when I had a few chapters of information I extracted, because I thought either it's one of the most incredible stories of all time, or it's just an interesting read. I don't really know. I mean, how would you prove that you're that old? There's really no way you could prove that unless there's some type of genetic analysis, and nobody really knows what that is to determine somebody's that old.
Well, is it possible with this guy writing you? No, I'm not, I don't know the guy, so I really can't judge what he is, but is it possible that he could have been meditating or have somebody come in telling you this stuff?
It's possible, but I did talk to him on the phone. I saw his picture. He also has a Facebook page, and he lives in Scotland, which you might consider interesting given some of the Immortal movies that were based in Scotland.
Okay.
But everything he says to me kind of checks out. One of the most interesting things he said to me near the end of our discussions was this, and this kind of gave me a ring of truth. Either there's no other way I can prove it. He said that I was the first mortal to learn all this information over 600 years. And that comment has always stuck with me. I don't know why, but I just felt there was some credibility there. I mean, I can't say for sure, of course not. And even if you were to meet the person physically and they had all sorts of ancient relics, what does that prove? It doesn't really prove anything. But I thought it was a pretty fascinating story. And also the things he said about the number of immortals being on Earth. I don't know, Trish, with all your witchcraft background, does that make any sense to you?
It does. Because these people, I think when people look for proof, I guess, in any such in paranormal or historically or anything like that, the only reason they don't accept it is because they have an expectation of what they're meant to find.
Right.
So when you talk about somebody who says that they have, I think knowledge is what comes through bloodlines, through DNA, through spirits, through mediums, through the planet for that matter, or universe or whatever. And so that knowledge is proof, because a lot of times when I communicate with spirits, or even I had somebody from Egypt the other day communicating with me for that matter. And so what happens is these people start getting information that nobody else has ever documented per se. And that's kind of your proof. If they have something that has not been, it's like finding a lost treasure or something new in a tomb. It's no different. It's just coming through the spirit world.
Carrie Langdock says he's fortunate she clicked on tonight. This is in line with embodied ascension. What do you think, Martin?
Well, ascension I look at as more of a spiritual process. We're talking about people who've been embodied in their physical bodies for those incredible amounts of time, although those people can certainly have a lot of spiritual growth. And I look at the whole process of living and learning as building your spiritual growth, which means that you probably end up with having a lot of spiritual abilities, like we talked in the last show. And that probably means they also can become disembodied spirits if they want to, or they might even be able to take over somebody else's body. I've read a pretty dark book about that possibility too, which really scared the hell out of me. So
also, that's what I was going to say as well. People who have near-death experiences, what if every time that happens? I know with me, I've often questioned that. What if they get a totally different soul during that transfer? What if my soul is different every time I died in this lifetime, and that gives you greater knowledge and greater.
I got an answer for you, Trish. That happened to me. Okay, 1983. I was drinking alcohol on a drug and abuse, and it was explained to me that when I died, my old soul left and another one popped in, which enlightened my gifts, if you want to say. So yeah. It does. They're called, I don't know if you ever heard the term walk-ins. Have you heard that term before?
Well, yeah, but that can happen. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing too. But as far as the longevity, I think the ascension, plus, there's certain people who have been on this earth in multiple lifetimes more often than others. There's some souls, this is the first time they've ever been here as a human on this planet. And then there's others that this is like they're climbing those stairs, and this might be their 9th time. So a soul who has been to Earth 9 times in multiple lifetimes is obviously they're going to carry all in their Akashic record, all of that information they've learned from their past lives. Right. So obviously that would be part of the ascension, how they.
Have you ever read the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda? Very, very, very famous book. And in that he mentions that he met this immortal, almost a god, who was 9,000 years old, had the ability to materialize and dematerialize at will. So you imagine if somebody's that old, they probably have mastered their body and their spirit in ways that they can decide to live in this world or not at their own will.
Absolutely.
Jason,
and I 100% believe that too. And I think that's how, you get all of the stories of angels and demons and all these things that materialize with superpowers and, at will, sometimes to help people, sometimes to teach them, things like that. What if it's just an extremely old soul like that who has mastered that ability?
Right. Yeah. Jason, you're quiet. Does any of this make sense to you?
Yeah, I'm learning some stuff. I did want to ask Pap, though, if you think you got somebody else's soul, where do you think yours went?
Yeah, seriously.
No, I'm being honest with you. I don't
think
know.
It's pretty hot?
I don't know. It's probably gone. I mean, seriously, it's not funny because, honestly, it happened. Because I'll tell you why. I don't remember from. It happened when I was 20 years old. I don't remember my childhood. I
Oh,
don't.
wow.
I don't.
Interesting.
I've
I
had
don't.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't.
You don't remember anything from your childhood?
Little bits and pieces. That's it.
That's how I am.
Hmm.
I was a completely different person after a few of the times that I died.
Yeah. So it happened. It was really crazy because I don't remember my graduation. I don't. I remember getting my knuckles cracked by nuns. You know.
Yeah.
But
Well, see,
Yeah.
there you remember something.
Those are nightmares,
oh
Sean.
yeah, just little bits, Sir Jason. Little bits, but not my full where people live in their past. You know.
Not really on tonight's topic, but I don't know if I mentioned last time that I remember before I was born, choosing my mother, being in her womb and being born.
Oh,
And I even wrote about that in a couple of my books. I don't know why, but I have this continuum of that whole sequence. Even remember being a small boy, and it was like at 2 years old, I woke up and realized I'd been kind of in a trance while I'd been born. It was like 2 years old, I became aware of my surroundings. But anyway, I have that in my memory, and I have heard of other people. I've talked to other mothers whose children told them that they picked them as a mom. So I don't know how common that is, but anyway.
I heard that too. I've heard that too.
I've communicated with when I've been pregnant with my children before, like obviously before they were ever born.
Mhm.
That
Well, doesn't
even
that go
before I
with
was
every
pregnant,
woman?
probably.
Think about that. They choose you. They chose
Mhm.
you to be the mom.
Yeah. So I would be communicating with this spirit, not and then it would all start making sense after I found out I was pregnant and while I was pregnant. But that's profound if you think about it, because that communication, that connection started long before I ever had them or before.
I see Carrie's comment. They say we all choose our families, which is in line with that. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And so there's longevity, there's immortals, there's living before birth. It's all connected to our spirits. And I could go into a lot more depth. I don't know what else to tell you. I should say on my website, I have buttons for each of the categories of my books. One is for longevity and immortality, and you can drill down into that and see all my books on this topic. So, any more questions?
Are any of the immortals vampires that everybody associates immortals with?
Good question.
That's a great question. I don't know if vampires are real or not. I don't know if any of you have had any experience with that or not. It's certainly a popular movie genre, but I've really never seen somebody who was actually like that.
Now, do these people believe they're immortal, or do they have any sense of if they are, or are
Which people? The
The
long-lived
immortals.
the immortals? I mean, do they have do they know they're immortal? Do they have any recollection, or do they have any?
Well, they do know that they're immortal because they've lived a long time. At least that's what they claim. Part of what I got in my book, and one of the chapters I extracted it, was that there are exercises for becoming immortal. And Trish, I'd like to know if you think this makes any sense. One of the things they said is if you go into a place like a deep forest and meditate and then try to connect to the spirit of the forest, that's a way to draw that immortal sense into your body. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely, because anything that has trees obviously have some of the deepest roots of anything else in the forest. Especially, that's why it's so devastating when you go to like the redbud trees and things like that have been around for you go to the oldest thing and that has the most connection to the source. So whether I can see, and that goes to vampires too, there's obviously energy vampires and all kinds of things who would get more, I guess, vitality from that because trees are connected to the source and have greater roots. So anything with deeper roots even bloodlines, if you think about it. That goes back to like royal families, anything, Egyptian blood, things like that, has deeper roots, closer to the source. So that makes a lot of sense.
Now, here's a comment from a woman, XV Planus, who says she's come across Immortalists a few times. And now I know about Immortalists. There are groups of people in this country and other countries who believe in immortality for themselves. They're not yet immortal, but they get together on a regular basis. There's a group I used to go attend down in Orange County that felt that, and they had all sorts of longevity and immortal speakers. And so there are people that are very much into this.
Now, could there be see, to me, it sounds like these people were cursed, to be honest with you. And I'm not, this is my own opinion. And that I wonder if they wished so hard to stay alive that they are staying alive.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I do know that because I believe in the 10 principles that I talked about earlier, that your belief in being alive is something that will keep you alive. I put that under the principle of enabling your life urge, because, like, for instance, out here in Los Angeles, there's a cemetery that advertises on the radio and says, well, you're getting up there in your 50s and 60s, you ought to come in and buy a plot. So they're getting people to expect that they're going to drop dead, and therefore
nice
setting
thought.
people's subconscious expectations.
I don't like to hear
Yes.
that.
So one of the things you need to do is change your subconscious, if you really want to, if you have a life purpose, to not have the expectation that you're going to die. So again, it's a psychological, spiritual barrier that a lot of people have to pierce.
So would it be better to be an immortal, or would it better to be a spirit, because they're pretty much immortal as well?
Yes. Good question, Jason.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, except I do believe we come to this earth to learn things. And there's things we can learn being physically embodied here, which we can't learn in other places. So I think both are important. You want to have a life or multiple lives here and then go back to the spirit. In fact, one of the things I felt before I was born was what I felt I needed to go back to earth. I was in a place way above the earth, and I kind of broke a piece of my spirit off to go down towards the earth. But the main part of me stayed up in this spirit realm. So I think we collect a lot of this experience, and when we die, we bring it back to our main spirit and merge it, if that makes any sense. Again, this is very subjective and not analytical at all. So I'm getting into some pretty far out stuff.
Yeah. And before we go on, we have to take a short break and talk about Dragon.
I'm going to take a moment to talk about my good friends at unidragon.com. The 20th century, with all the gadgets and electronics, have made it hard to relax. Puzzles have become a convenient and actual way of having rest. It also is a means to train your brain as well. And my friends at Unidragon have created puzzles. But the cool thing about their puzzles, they're a work of art. They do so much for you that I didn't even know was possible. They reboot the brain. They help you relax. They help with burnout. They help with attention training, observation development, analytical ability, and even social interactions. These puzzles are relatively simple tools that solve a complex range of problems. In game form, they help with analytical and communicative skills in all spheres of our life that we need. And one thing about these puzzles is their work of art. They're beautiful. There's animals, nature scenes to choose from, mounting systems, kids puzzles, world map puzzles. You can find all their puzzles and all their products, unidragon.com. And I have a special promo code they were wonderful to give us. It's Chasing. The discount code is 10% off, and you can go to their website, unidragon.com, and use it and choose from so many puzzles. They make the perfect gift for family and friends. Thanks, Unidragon.
Don't forget, they're great. Go ahead. We're talking about longevity with Marty. And I just want to say, Marty, I have a question for you. When these immortals or these people have offspring, do they inherit that?
That's a good question too, which I don't know. I know genetically, if we come from a long-lived family, our genetics say that we will probably live longer. But as an immortal, I don't know. I suspect not, because I think it has to do with a lot more than our physical bodies. I think it has to do with our spiritual connection also. But it's not something I really know, or truthfully, that I never asked one of them.
Yeah, I just was
So that would be
wondering.
terrible if, like, you're an immortal and say you reproduce and have children and everything, and they're not immortal.
I
So you're going to go
know.
through your whole life and then just watching
Your
your family
children
just
die,
die
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That would be a big
that
reason.
would be the worst thing.
I don't know.
Big
You
reason
have to
not
release.
to want to live longer.
Well, you have to find out if they have, if any of these immortals have children. Maybe they don't have children.
But I think once you release, see, that's part of the human experience and the ego realm, because once you release that and you realize that souls don't go anywhere. We're always here. We're always somewhere in this universe, multiverse, whatever it is. You kind of release that when people die physically. Yes, that's painful and hurts. But if you continue living, you're still going to run into them. I ran into a lady just walking one day in a park who told me she was actually almost 90. And she told me she's already met multiple family members again in this lifetime in other bodies. So, for instance, from the time she was a little girl, she had actually reincarnated as her father in this life. She was his mother in a past life, and she remembered that. So people, and we always are innately drawn to people from our past lives, whether it be karmic to right a wrong or learn a lesson or whatever it may be. And that's, I think it was Carrie that said we choose our families. Well, a lot of people in this life have been there in past lives. So once you start getting into past life regression and things like that, you start remembering these past lives. So I think by living that long, if you embrace the experience instead of thinking everything is permanent, as far as that goes.
No, I couldn't take the gamble, having a child and, just figuring I might see them again someday in
Yeah.
another form. That just don't sit well with me.
Hey, Martin, I have a question to ask
Yeah.
you. These people who are immortal, have you researched anything on, is it a diet or is it just, how are they, eating?
How do they
drinking?
do it? Yeah, very good question. Because obviously I don't know all the answers to that. I think that a lot of it has to do with spiritual aspects, that if they're connected to their spirit, if they're spiritually evolved, that it helps bring down health into their physical bodies. And also what we were talking about earlier about the idea of being in a forest and taking in the essence of that consciousness, I think that can also have an effect. And otherwise, I don't have a good answer for you. I do want to refer to a comment that somebody made on here a few minutes ago where they said, what's our purpose here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's two things. One is going along with what Trish said about reincarnation. We definitely come to this earth for one reason, to take in more knowledge, to learn more, to grow our minds and our bodies. And that's something that helps us in our total consciousness, our spiritual consciousness, when we die. The other reason I think that people come here is they want to contribute something to our world. I think there have been certain great masters throughout history who have come to our world to provide their spiritual perspective or invent things or provide a political essence to the world. So I think that the spirits want to contribute to our earth also to help the world in general evolve. So that's why I think there's two reasons.
And as far as how people do it, I actually just read a good example today. This lady who was in her late 70s, early 80s, and She had, arthritis, dementia, all these things, could barely walk, was overweight. And her daughter was a personal trainer and encouraged her to change her life by just exercising and doing things, because we get in this mindset that just because we're aging, we have to be frail and not do anything anymore. And the lady completely changed her life by so it is a lot going back to the roots. That's why people eat root vegetables. That's why there's a lot of connections to spirit in that, as far as the herbalism, exercise, because it keeps your blood flow. It keeps the biggest thing about longevity, which is very, very hard to, I guess, balance, is chakra balance. And once you, and that includes everything. So
that makes sense, because opening your chakras and you learning to use those energies in your body is part of that spiritual growth experience. And I've had a lot of experience opening my crown chakra and my heart chakra, and I can see that the other ones being open would benefit me a lot also. So yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, Trish.
And then what you feed your brain, our brain's our biggest muscle. If you feed it negativity, if you feed it fear that you're going to die or get sick or your kids are going to die, whatever, that's going to manifest. It's our inner and outer worlds.
I have one question. I have one. We had a caller. I just lost them. So if you want to call back, you can also hit the link. You can hit the link in the chat, and you can come on and just do audio if you prefer, or video. So if you want to give us a call back, caller, go ahead.
Call on in.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Join us for Torture Tuesday.
Jerry says raising cellular frequency, and that's good. Yes, anything that raises your vibration makes you essentially immune to all kinds of things, negativity, illnesses, everything.
Right.
How do we know that this isn't like these immortals or people who live to be years, like 100, 200, whatever, aren't like extraterrestrial?
Good question.
Are they immortals too?
Really interesting comment.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I think a lot of disembodied spirits may be extraterrestrial, and I think extraterrestrials have visited our Earth. That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But maybe the basis of the human race was based on human looking extraterrestrials, or maybe we're based on them. So it's possible. I don't know the answer to that. A lot of these subjects seem to merge together and all have impacts on each other. When you really look at all of the out of the box types experiences or knowledge that people have collected.
I want to ask a question to the panel here. Do you think the government or doctors came up with a pill that would just let you live forever?
Do we think they did, or they're going to?
Going to, or maybe did. Would they probably have
if the government was to make a pill for that, it's so we could pay them more money over time.
No, he's right.
I agree with that.
Then you can
keep us alive.
If there's money involved, if there's money involved, definitely.
Because once you get to certain spirituality levels, money and power and all of those materialistic, three-dimensional things, you don't have the desire for that. So why would somebody, you know what I mean? So I think
personally, I don't think the government has developed that. I have run across some companies that sell things that help keep the telomeres on the end, which are the end caps of your chromosomes, more complete. That's supposedly one of the things that will help your longevity. But I haven't seen any medicine or pill that claims it will give you extreme longevity or immortality.
Well, if they're working with stem cells, that could be something into that. Stem cells are changing.
Right. Good one there, Jen. Think about it, right? You're on your way out the door, man, going 6 feet under. And
that's one reason I have the science of longevity and what science can do to contribute to your life as a part of my 10 principles. I think that's definitely a factor. We can learn things from science, which will help us age and stay healthy. And of course, the more we stay healthy, the longer we're going to want to live. I don't think anybody who's totally decrepit may want to live many years longer, but if we're healthy, we can experience new careers, new relationships, new lives. Why not?
I think genetics will wipe people out continuously.
Oh yeah, if you
Like
have
if you
bad
got
genetics.
cancers or something, it's like running in your line. No matter what you do, something's gonna happen.
I don't
That's
know.
just the way
I
see
think
it.
that's just because we have that mindset. I 100% think that you can change, and that's huge when you come to, you know, pagan or witches beliefs, obviously, because it's kind of a cursed mindset. You know, once you change that, it only takes one generation to change that mindset forever. Because I believe that cancer even is caused by our stress, all of the modern world toxins and stuff. And once you're free of that, you know, because I've personally known, even in my own family, multiple people who have healed themselves from cancer and such. And so that would change the future DNA, the future energy resonance in your genetic makeup.
Yeah, but what about the cancer cells that are already in your blood? They're just benign, and it's at some point they become active. That's where it's at. Like you
They
already
become
have
active
it.
because of stress.
You already have it. Like it doesn't matter what you do. It's in your blood. It's in all of our blood right now. You know, it's just a matter if it becomes active and creates tumors.
Yeah, we have we do have cancer cells. It just takes something to bring it out. Could be anything. Trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I do think our spirit has an overriding effect on our health. Again, spirit, the integration of spirit, mind, and body is critical to our health and longevity. And we are probably exposed to these things and cancer all the time. But if we're healthy and we stay de-stressed, if our spirits are healthy, that helps. I mean, there's no absolute answer here, but I think it's all part of the mix of remaining a healthy, vibrant person in a long life.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I like what you said there, Martin. But the way the world's going right now, how in the hell can you be happy?
Well, remember, I think somebody once studied there were only like 20 years in human history when there was no war. I think that there's always bad things going on. And yes, there's a lot of bad things right now between the pandemic and wars and loss of freedoms. But I think we can remain optimistic people. We can live through these things. We can have productive lives. We can have satisfaction in our lives. And a lot of it has to do with our mindset. The more positive mindset we have, the more effective and happier our life is going to be.
I don't know, because I know a lot of people, and I'll be the first one to admit it. I don't have no positivity in my mind all the time. I don't think I could live in positivity all my life. I couldn't. Then I would think that there would be something wrong with me if I was thinking positive all the time. And that's me.
Well, Marty, can you help Sean believe that he can repair his energy and make it more positive?
Well, the first thing I was thinking is in the 10 Principles book, if you were to look at that, Sean, under principle number 2, defining the purpose in life, the more you work on your purpose in life, the more you work on reasons to be alive. And I have some exercises for that in that book and also in my online training on personal-longevity.com and in other books of mine. The more you will find something that keeps you interested in continuing and going on.
Could you show him some of these principles, Marty?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Can you tell us some of these principles that could help Sean?
Well, again, this is the 10 principles I mentioned earlier. I don't know if there's a way for me to display a.
Like, is there a way that he could? I don't know.
Where would I have to go to read it, Marty?
The book
Buy
I
it on
sent,
Amazon.
The book you could go to Amazon and get the 10 Principles of Personal Longevity.
Okay.
And that's the book that I'm talking about, because in that book, it gives you the 10 principles. It tells you what you can do for each one, and specifically on your life urge, it provides you with exercises. I also, on my website, mkettingtonbooks.com, under the category of longevity and immortality, there's also training guides, and there's 10 training guides, one for each of the 10 principles, and you can read those, which are basically text versions of my audiovisual online training program. And in the second book, it goes into what I do in the online training for helping you with your life urge. Mm-hmm. So again, a lot of these things are psychological issues. And once we break through those psychological issues, it helps us tremendously in our life.
I agree with that. And also nowadays, I've found, as through herbal nutrition studies and as a trainer myself, so many people, it's not surprising, but have certain things like vitamin deficiency, something as simple as that, a vitamin deficiency, vitamin D, B12, things like that significantly affect their mindset, depression, anxiety, all kinds of things that cause upsets. And so they think they're crazy or depressed, but one little change like that, helps. And then of course, it absolutely mindset, as Sean was saying, I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to negativity. I focus on myself and, my kids and stuff, my self-growth. So I don't, all the other things, yes, it's all of our reality, but, say today in this moment, that's not my immediate reality. That's not something you have to focus on the good too.
Yeah, definitely.
If I could mention in my own life, I've been through divorce. I've been through open heart surgery. Mm. I've been through being a multimillionaire and going broke. And I was able to recover from all those things because I have an attitude that says we have a purpose in life. I have a purpose in my life, and that there's more here to learn. And there's many more experiences that I'll be able to have with people the longer I live. I enjoy my life. I enjoy the people that I meet. Mm-hmm. I do exercise regularly, and I do enjoy my life. So I think if you have the right attitude, it helps you live longer and helps you enjoy it too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What if you find your purpose early? Does that mean you would probably die sooner, per se?
I think you would. Then they probably could say the person's got the wrong purpose. Maybe their purpose should be something that's more long-term.
But what would be long-term purpose? You've done everything that you could possibly do.
Being a teacher, being a philosopher to teach younger people meaning for their lives, and also having different careers. Becoming a doctor, a medical doctor, or becoming a pilot, mm-hmm. or all sorts of things. There are many things that I haven't done in my life that I'd like to do. And if I can stay healthy and live longer, there's a lot of those things to do. More relationships. I have had fairly unsuccessful relationships. I could have more successful ones. Although as I have more spiritual growth, I don't want one just for the sake of having one. I want one where we can add 1 and 1 equals 3 type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
your purpose in life might be just when you fell, just keep getting you up. Just keep trying to strive for better. That could be your life purpose, just to see how far you can go, pulling your bootstraps up. It's easier said than done, though.
And sometimes, what if your purpose is just to be? Just to experience, but it's so hard as humans for us to do that because we're always either living in the past or the future. So presence is,
or if this is where you're supposed to be at this precise moment in time.
I think we're always where we're supposed to be at any given time.
Yeah.
We can see from this whole discussion on longevity how there's a lot more factors than just about our physical body. There's a lot of psychological factors. There's a lot of spiritual factors. There's a lot of issues that affect the whole spirit, mind, and body, and how that's integrated together that will help you live longer or not. And so
Do you see the comment that Nina said that it can't be for all though, because Gandhi died at 78 and he had all the peace and spiritual growth anybody could have.
That's
Yeah,
true.
maybe he had finished the purpose he was here for.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that other people can't have a lot longer purposes. Some people may have short reasons for living, and other people may have a lot longer reasons for living.
I still have a hard time, Marty, thinking that there's immortals that live to be, 300, 400 years old.
It is a hard concept. It took me years to get used to it. But when I was confronted by lots and lots of evidence and continued evidence, I mean, there's articles you see every year about somebody in Indonesia who's celebrating their 50th birthday or something. And then you ask, well, science says that's not possible. But I think it's important to open our minds, open to new concepts, and not shut out things just because it's not acceptable. And that's another thing I would say is a big problem with our society. We suppress a lot of truth because it's not political. It's not something you want to be comfortable with. But we need to be open-minded to many different types of truth. And I don't want to get political except to say in the pandemic, there were a lot of treatments that people, which many doctors said would keep them alive. And a lot of those treatments pressed by the Food and Drug Administration and
a lot of them were suppressed, right? It could have kept them alive, and they didn't because
people. In fact, being an engineer, the reason I wanted to be an engineer was I was interested in the truth of our reality. I was interested in what were the fundamental building blocks of our civilization, and the same thing goes for our concepts. All of the things we're taught, all the concepts we believe, are things that have been impressed on us by authorities, by either teachers in school or ministers, priests in religious institutions. But I believe that we have to search for the truth ourselves. And I say that whether it's spiritual truth or paranormal truth or truth about political realities, we can't just accept what people tell us, because life is a lot more interesting and a lot more complicated than that. And I think that's another way to stay interested in life, by questioning the things we've been taught. I question everything. I consider myself kind of an out-of-the-box person. That's why I've written so many books on so many different out-of-the-box topics, because the more I learn, the more I research, the more I realize that there's a lot more which is strange in our world and wonderful in our world than we are taught to believe. I don't mean to preach, but you kind of got me.
I agree. I know, at 40, I realized a few years ago, I know absolutely nothing, because the more you, like I said, with your brain, it being a tool for ascension and spiritual growth and things like that, the more you feed it, the more you learn. The world and the universe and science even is constantly evolving, and so you start learning something new every day. And I think that's the ultimate as far as being open-minded and out of the box, because I get excited and then I'm like, and then I'll think I know something today that I just learned, and then it'll change tomorrow because I learned something new.
I see where you're coming from there, Trish. I could see where you're coming from.
So if you constantly, but I'm like a child. So if you have that childlike wonder of being curious and constantly exploring and thinking, change your perspective on these things as this, they always say our spiritual experience, things happen for us, not to us. So once you change your perspective, it changes. Even if you look back on things from like when you were a child or movies. I've gotten a lot of Time magazines from the 40s and 50s, and I read those and I think, wow, look how much science and politics and everything has become. Even the ads, they had babies smoking cigarettes in some ads back then, and I'm like,
that's bad.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's the way I look at life. Here's the way I look at it. God knows when he's going to take you. So just keep on living.
Sean, I think you were given spiritual gifts for a reason. You were given those gifts to use. Yes, you were given those gifts to use in your life because there's purpose in your life, even if you may not totally realize it. And those are gifts that you have to take advantage of, which will make your life more meaningful, if that makes any sense.
It makes a ton of sense, but that's for another show. Stick around and listen to my show, and then, yeah.
Are you talking about your gifts tonight, Sean?
No.
No.
Well, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for sponsoring the second hour, Carnation. Thank you for sponsoring this hour.
I need to step out for a second, unless you're going to cut me off. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Martin's like, I'm out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I still think it has to do with elementals or extraterrestrials.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I could ask questions all night on this subject, or I could give my thoughts and views on this subject all night. But like I said before, it all comes down to when God says you're ready to go, you're going. And that's why I look at it. So why not?
I agree with you, Sean, on that one.
Yeah. So why not enjoy life until he says, okay, it's time for me to punch you out, and you're gone.
Some of the stuff is just
So what if you just dropped over right now, Pap? What should we do?
What would you guys? Oh,
should we call 911 and try and guess your address, or just kind of be like, well, he served his purpose?
You served
his purpose.
Serve my purpose, buddy.
I'm not even gonna. Don't even speak those things into the.
Put those things into the universe, right?
Yes.
You see, Seth, Sammy, and
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Is that spam?
Hackers. Those are hackers, honey.
I don't see any of the chat tonight.
They might be from a different.
No. Trust me, they are. They're hackers.
They must like you though, because they're.
No. Hey, you're blonde. Trish is blonde.
I'm not blonde.
Like you better.
I was blonde.
Not blonde.
Well, it looks like it's blonde.
I'm gray.
I have red hair.
Yeah, red hair.
I'm all I'm my natural gray, salt and pepper. Yeah, it's time to
more salt and pepper, Jay.
I have an announcement since we're waiting for. I'm going to be a grandma twice. I told you. Well, I just found out I'm going to get to play Barbie dolls too.
Are they all girls?
One boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl.
So I'm excited.
Barbie dolls.
Yeah,
oh
Barbies are my
do
favorite.
Do they still sell those?
Yes.
Oh no! But while we're waiting for Martin, oh here he is. He's here. Okay, we're back. Okay, I see you. Welcome back, Marty.
Martin, welcome back. Welcome to
Martin.
Torture Tuesday.
Thank you for letting me take the quick break.
Yeah.
You feel better?
Not a problem.
Yes,
you look
I
better.
answered the call of nature. Yes,
definitely.
I have a question, Martin. And this is actually my kind of off topic for everyone tonight because I want to know, and it's interesting with the 222. But what, paranormally speaking, what has been the scariest thing you've ever experienced as far as human definition for fear, I guess?
Well, I think I told you last time I was on about my experience with the spirit attacking me, right?
She wasn't on.
Yes.
She wasn't on that show, but
oh, okay. Well, that was the time we cleared the house and contained the spirits in the plastic bottle of water, and they attacked us in the car.
Oh, yes. I was there.
Oh, you were?
So that's number one. My second scariest experience is I'm an old Eagle Scout backpacker. And in the 80s, I took a backpack on the Appalachian Trail and had to fight a bear. I don't know if you want the details.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, I want to hear the details.
Yeah, let's hear
That's awesome.
I want to hear the details, Marty.
All right. So I had a friend. I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I had a friend drop me off at Klingman's Dome, which is an overlook over the Appalachian Trail. And my idea was to hike about 60 miles over several days. So that's what I started to do. And the first night I got to a lean-to, and I should mention the lean-tos on that part of the Appalachian Trail are three-sided, 3 walls. One side has a fireplace in it. They have bunks. And then there's a steel mesh across the front. And there's a steel door made of a mesh with a steel surrounding it. And you have 2 chains, one part to chain the top and one part to chain the bottom, even though it's a single door. So the first night was pretty normal. I met some other campers. They said there were bears on the trail. This is in about September, October, like 1983. And so that was fine. Nice evening. The next day I'm hiking down And I get to the lean-to where I'm going to stay for the evening. But in front of the lean-to is a mother bear and her cub. And I saw another guy coming from the other direction, so I waved him to stop. And we waited for about 20 minutes until she wanders off into the woods. So we get into the lean-to. I chained the door just on the top half. That was the big mistake. Well, that was one mistake. The other big mistake, which I can't believe I did because I'm an experienced camper, is I got out my cook stove and started cooking bacon.
Oh no,
dude!
Big mistake. So the mother bear comes running back, trying to get into the lean-to. She's clawing the screen. She's trying to dig out rocks that are too big. Finally, she decides to start pushing through the door, and she's pushing it wider and wider. And I thought, oh my God. And I'm about 3 or 4 feet from her, and the other guy runs in the back and jumps up on a bunk. And I realized if she got in there, she was probably going to maul me to death. But there were some steel signposts in the lean-to. So as she looked like she was about to break in, her head was all the way through, it was under her shoulders. Either the door was going to break or something. So I was really figured, this is it. This is my moment. And I didn't want to die easily. So I took the post and I went, and jammed her as hard as possible into the forehead and between her eyes. And she growls and pulls out and wanders around with her head shaking. So I know I really got her. It would have killed a person. And then she tried to get banged in a couple of times. But then the other guy and I start poking her with posts. So this is not the end of the story. She left us alone. We had our cold dinner and we went to sleep.
You literally poked a bear.
That's right. So the next day I got to another lean-to, and I'd heard from other hikers there's more bears further down the trail. I thought, oh, wonderful. And this one was pretty good. I'd locked myself in both sides of the door, and I decided to start cooking in the fireplace. And of course, a snake has been resting in the chimney and comes right down almost into my lap. And I jump out of the way and I cook my meal. And then these boars are rooting up on the dirt there. They're rooting in the dirt, and boars have tusks. They can be dangerous. But I was locked in. I was safe. I also cut myself a big walking stick that night because I knew there'd be problems further down the trail. So the next night on the trail, I hike over this mountain. It's like I've already gone 20 plus miles over this mountain to get down to a place called Spence Field, where I'd been before on day hikes. And in Spence Field, there's another lean-to, and it's surrounded by all sorts of trash. And you can tell that this is trash that the bears have picked through, and there's definitely bears around. But I was out of water. So I locked my pack in the lean-to, and I took my canteen, and I went down to a stream that was about a half mile down, and I knew it was there to get some water. And I come back, and oh my God, what do I see? Another mother bear and her cub outside the lean-to trying to get in to get my pack. And I thought, oh my God, what do I do? I'm outside now. Now I heard these are black bears, understand, not brown bears. If it had been brown bear, I probably wouldn't have done this. But I'd heard that if you throw things at black bears, you might scare them away. So I started picking up a bunch of rocks and I started tossing them towards it. And I got them close and I hit her on the side and she looks at me and I thought, oh my God, no, now is not the time to freeze. So I charged her, throwing more rocks, and I charged this bear. And by God, she runs into the woods and her cub goes up a tree. And so I got inside the lean-to and my hands are shaking and I locked it and I thought, oh my God, I'm not staying here another night. I am not going to stay here. I can't take this anymore. So I put on my backpack and of course I'm full of adrenaline. And I remember I'd already had a long hike that day, but I unlocked it and I looked around. There was nothing there. I ran literally 5 miles down the exit trail. It was a 10-mile trail, but I ran 5 miles down there and then decided I was safe. And even when I got down to the bottom, there were bears probing in the campsite down there, but I stayed away from them. So anyway, that was the last time I experienced a lot of bears. I've seen bears on other trips, but that was up close and personal.
How
What they say about bears
Very
is
personal.
they say if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. And if it's white, forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
Forget about it.
Bears.
So, but that was
Oh,
still only the second scariest experience. The scariest experience was the spirit attacking me.
That's
Because it was
scary.
It was racing my mind.
So it's interesting though, if you think of animals and you were young, I assume, since that was Eagle Scouts, right?
Yeah, well, I wasn't. Yeah, that was 1983.
So
Oh, Sean, that's the same
was
year
born
you
in
died.
55. I was born.
Yeah,
in
it is.
Well,
That
so
is.
bears,
We just had an epiphany.
symbolize
Yeah.
they symbolize longevity and strength, and
So
it's a very
reverence,
powerful spirit animal. And so when that crosses your path, it's telling you to trust your instincts and let go of things that block your path. So that's interesting that you had that. You conquered a bear, back.
That's really interesting to know that they're powerful spirit animals. Yeah.
Yes. And the fact that you saw a snake too, right? So I always pay attention to these things. People laugh at me with all my animal spirit guides, snakes are neither good nor bad. I don't consider any animal good or bad. Like people think black cats. No, that the animal itself is not bad. Usually they're telling you something. They're trying to teach you something. So
I got my book about snakes. Hold on.
Well, I certainly learned a lot from that experience.
I bet you did.
Rather not repeat.
It's like that movie. What was it with Leonardo DiCaprio? Reverend, is that what it was? With the bear.
Yeah, that's based on a true story.
Yeah, it was a good.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Snake. What do we got?
Jason, what's
Samuel
your
Jackson?
It is transmutation.
Transmutation.
Yes, because they shed their skin.
Yep. Yeah, Jason, what's your scariest paranormal event?
Well, the scariest event that I had was probably a few weeks ago. Me and my wife was messing around, and I decided to get a little sassy, and I didn't know she was right behind the door and about popped out and knocked me half across the room. I'm 6'2", and it scared me right on my boots. I went flying out the back door. I said, I ain't coming back in that house.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, Marty, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, Marty, have a good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin.
Books.
I always enjoy it. Again, my website one more time, mkettingtonbooks.com, spelled mkettingtonbooks.com. I've got buttons for each of the categories of my books. There's over 120 on very out-of-the-box subjects. So I really enjoyed being on here again with all of you. You're really fun to be with.
Yeah. And
looking forward to doing something.
Yeah, March 22nd. Is that the next day we have you on? I believe it's March 22nd.
So thank you very much. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
Marty.
good
Have a
night.
good
Torture
one.
Tuesday on
Take care.
Tuesday.
Great show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a great guest. He's fun. I like him. So, guys,
Oh,
I
Here
want
we go.
Here we go to the second half of the show. So just remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube and subscribe. Okay, so a second power to the show. Sean, did you know that there's an invisible force field in the outer space? Did you know that?
I did not know that until I read everything about it. Yeah. I don't. Is there? I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Jason, have you ever heard of Alan's belts, Trish?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I believe that. I believe there's an invisible force field around everything.
Yeah, there's supposed to be radiation, and it's like, what was one of the questions we were talking about? What was the question I wanted you guys to answer? And if it's impossible, because they said there's radiation that you cannot get through. This is supposed to be deadly. If it's impossible for humans, living beings, to enter Alan's belt, how can there be aliens? And how can aliens enter the atmosphere?
because they're not the same as humans.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
They could be well
They got the
adapted.
technology that they can do it, and if their so-called UFO is fast and quick, it can go through that zone.
Well, it's protecting us, protecting Earth, and it has like really high radiation. And you think that they're because they're aliens. It's like a protective blanket over swirling in a ring of radiation, deadly radiation.
I mean, look at that. What's that microbe? They call it something bear. It's a little, microbe or whatever that can survive nuclear radiation and everything of that nature. So why couldn't extraterrestrials?
Exactly.
Right. You know what I'm talking? Do you know what I'm talking about? There's that microbe that scientists found. I forget what exactly the name of it, but they call it like something bear. and it survived everything. There's
You
no
think-
way to
you
kill
think
it.
that because they're aliens, because it could mess up their DNA, it would mess everything up.
Well, if you were looking at that YouTube thing, whenever NASA decided to shoot off the Apollo, right, or after the Apollo, they somehow figured a way in order to get to the littlest part of that thing, the protection thing. Did you read that? Did you hear that?
The YouTube video.
Yeah, it was a YouTube video.
So Apollo's mission, NASA had to create a radiation barrier to get them through in their
That
space.
had to go in quick, but they took the shortest point in that thing.
They were traveling as fast as possible. Yeah.
Through the smallest part of that field.
They were going like what was it, 20 an hour per hour, 25 kilometers, is that what they call it?
I thought it was more.
Well, going through it would take like 52.8 minutes, they said, to pass through the belts.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it has to do with whether they're aliens. So again, back to damn witches. It's as above, so below theory. So I was watching this thing, kind of a good graphic explanation of this on firewalkers in other societies. So they walk across. There's some that walk across the fire, and this is like, I don't know how many degrees, but that they remain completely unharmed. There's some of them get harmed, but then there's other ones that don't, because if you consider even just our world part of the matrix, why would the universe be? So everything has holes, and it's kind of like our aura is the same way, our skin, everything.
So you're saying that they're using their mind, they have this like mind
meditation,
like a
yes, and anything can get a hole in it. If you think about, humans, our skin, you get a hole in your skin, you leak blood. You get a hole in your aura, you're susceptible to spiritual attacks. We have a hole in our ozone, we're susceptible to more radiation, all these, everything builds on that, I think. So in what Sean was saying, when they go through the shortest point, which would be less likely, I guess it wouldn't cause as much harm. I think that's the same in anything. Even like portals and stuff, that's a hole. That's something for something else to come through.
Right. Okay. Now, I do believe that they said that the astronauts, when they came back, they did a radiation thing on them, and it was it was like getting 2 CT scans. That's how much they had.
A lot of radiation.
How about Chernobyl? The elephant's foot.
Well,
that wiped out a lot of people.
True. Okay.
And look at the animals. Look what it did to the animals over there. They deformed them.
But again, how strong your barrier is, as far as people, the earth, whatever it is, that's why it's been so important with our ozone lately. I remember this from when I was little, because I remember I was in 5th grade, and I went to a school called Harrison Schmidt, which was an astronaut, and we learned about all these things. And I did a science experiment on the greenhouse project. So I literally made a greenhouse with all the planets in it, with a barrier, a protective barrier,
there you go,
to show that, if the sun or aliens or whatever was going to come through, if there was one little pinhole, that would create enough space for something, even as small as a microbe, to get through, and could literally destroy the entire planet.
It's very interesting.
Interesting.
It takes this one little pinhole. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Okay, moving on to our next topic, guys. Did you all know that there is what's his name? Geller? Uri Geller says that there's a massive extraterrestrial invasion coming. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Come on.
Let's take a look at this. Let's take a
look.
Because we have so many holes in our protective barrier now.
Yeah, let's take a look and see what he says. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I can't even see it. I'm going to have to make it bigger. Do you see where he says it is? There it is. You see that little bugger?
Yeah, but wow, they're in our ocean, Jenny.
Yeah, but this guy says that he believes that there's a giant energy source. That's what we were talking about, which astronomers discovered a distance of 4,000 light years, probably a message from superior beings. So he believes that they're coming, but they're coming. There's like 4,000 light years away.
But being a UFO, they can probably be there in 30 minutes.
I don't know.
But did you hear did you read the rebuttal on that?
What did he
There was
say?
people who rebutted it, saying it wasn't what he was saying. It was, I really wish I can remember, but I know that some of the NASA people were saying that it was just some kind of wave or something like that. It was not alien. It was some type of other thing going on. So I can't see. My God, 4,000 aliens, please.
Come 4,000 light years away.
Like 4,000 light years away.
I think we'll all be well dead.
We'll be way dead.
Here.
Well, you never know. Well, according to like John, what did he say? Marty said we could live to be.
I would not want to be that long. I would not want to live that long.
I don't either, because all your friends are.
The Golden Corral won't be around in 1,000 years.
It would be sad. You lose all your friends.
The Golden Corral's a hell of a place to eat.
So, what is your off topic? We got Trisha's. What was your off topic for tonight?
Who, mine?
Sean, yeah.
How people treat other people. You know.
How bad people treat each other.
Yeah. I mean, people just are mean to people.
Well, you know what, Sean? Everybody's mean to people because there's so much. It's so messed up. It's so messed up.
What are you laughing about, man?
It's so messed up out there. That's why.
Right, but why can't we not just have? And I said this on my show last week.
Along?
Why can't we be
one
friends?
day?
Why can't we?
One day. One day. Why can't everybody just be nice to somebody?
Because that'd be the day the earth stood still.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's my off topic. I think people should be nicer to other people, man. What do you think, Trish?
Definitely, we should try, anyways.
Well, I think it starts with ourselves. Until we start being nice to ourselves, nothing's going to change. So.
Well, I'm nice. I'm nice to people.
No, you have to love yourself.
Yeah,
of course. I wouldn't have 31 years of sobriety if I didn't love myself.
But you said there's not a lot of positivity in the world, and a lot of the things. Every person we encounter throughout our days, throughout our lives, are a projection, essentially, of ourselves, because everyone's perspective, everyone's personality, everything is different. So, I think. And if you look at your close relationships with people, we are, what do they say? A combination of the 5 people closest to us as far as personalities and mindsets and everything else. So, again, what you feed feeds you, if we all make the changes in ourselves, I know for myself, I think I'm a good person. I think I'm loving and all this other stuff. There's so many parts of myself that I don't accept. And I'm sure that I project that onto my kids, onto my family members, onto my pets, onto a lot of things. So I think it starts from within.
There you go. Love
Jenny?
each other.
What do you have to say, Jen?
My off topic was, I was just going to discuss a woman that I found to be fascinating. Her name is Harriet. I got her last name right. Let me see. I forget her name. Harriet Truman.
What is it? You gave us 3 names.
What?
Is it T-U-T-R?
Tubman. That's it. Tubman. Yeah, Tubman.
Okay, what about this lady? What about this lady?
What the
hell is that?
There? Jenny, what are you doing?
I'm sorry.
What the hell
Is
you
someone
doing?
texting you and that's your tone?
No. Anyway, she wasn't. She
Was that a gremlin? What?
maybe she.
Oh my!
Oh Lord,
This is a double torture Tuesday.
What is that
God.
sound? That's how to raise the vibration, Sean. Is everybody hits that note, whatever that sound is.
Okay, she was the keeper of the underground, during the slave time.
Okay.
What I found to be very
Underground
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman.
Yes. But the thing that I found fascinating off topics was that she was so tough that she had brain surgery without anesthesia.
I believe it.
I believe it, yeah.
I
Yeah,
could
and
see
she
that,
was
yeah.
so tough. She chose instead to chew on a bullet
All right.
like a Civil War soldier. And I just thought that was.
Did you
I
know
thought
she
that was
saved 70 slaves?
Are you looking it up? Are you doing a fact check on me, buddy?
No, I went to high school.
Are you doing a fact check?
I went to high school.
Oh, gee.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Jason, you're on the S list now, buddy. You
Yeah.
fact
Oh
check
well,
Jenny.
that could happen to anybody.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
so yeah, I thought that was a good off topic. She seemed like she had it all together, and she was the gatekeeper to the underground, I guess, where they hid
Railroad.
the railroad for the slaves. So I thought,
Where
Yeah,
did
good
she
for
live
her.
at? I
She
mean,
was
what state was she in that she was helping them out?
oh, it just said it didn't say really what state she was. Just say lost. She never lost a slave, so I'm thinking that would be somewhere in the South, because yeah, she probably brought them from the South to the North because North was
And
anti-slave.
yeah, but Prospect Place where we went that one time, Jason.
Yeah,
That
out
was
in Ohio
that was
from the 1850s.
yes, Trimway, Ohio is where the Underground Railroad came through. And it's an interesting story if you want to read about it.
Yeah,
It is.
I bet it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's cool because they had that light tower where they'd go up there and shine so many lanterns.
Yeah.
If it was safe,
Yep.
for the slaves on the Underground Railroad to stay there for a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, that would be.
It's called oh, come on. It was called a
Oh my
cupola.
God.
She was born in Maryland, but do you know how she got that injury when she was 12 years old? She was rented out as a slave at 7, and it says at 12 she spotted an overseer about to throw a heavy weight at a fugitive, and she stepped between the enslaved person and the overseer, and the weight struck her head, and it fractured her skull.
Yeah, she was a tough cookie, though.
And that was 12 years old. So that's
Yeah.
but that actually, by doing that, it said that she had issues with it the rest of her life, but it made her unattractive to potential slave buyers and renters.
That's a good thing, I
So it
guess.
might have this is the whole thing of perspective, changing your perspective.
Yeah.
That might have essentially saved her life, and that led her to a greater purpose as well. So
It's a good one. I thought it was. Jason, what's your off topic?
Oh, what was that noise? That's my off topic. You guys like horror movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to talk about the Texas. What are you?
Yeah, I wanted to see if any of you have seen the new Texas Chainsaw
No, but
Massacre
we
and what you
No.
thought about it.
We should
No.
listen to a trailer on it and see. Let me see if I can get one. And you go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I'm a big fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, always have been, from the old school ones to the early 2000s. And I watched a new one the other day, and it was okay. It was pretty good. It had a nice gore factor with some modern, kind of stuff in it, such as, how people would be with cell phones in the eyes of like a serial killer right there, trying to put them on Facebook or whatever. But I got to say, though, I think the early 2000s versions are still probably some of the best ones, in my own opinion.
Now-
So if anybody gets a chance, check it out. Watch
Did
and
he
see what you
die?
think.
Didn't they kill him, or was he ever dead?
I can't tell you. I can't ruin the movie.
Well, it just seems. How many movies were there? 6 or 7?
Oh, there was a bunch. There was 3 in the early mid 2000s there. Then you figure the old ones. I'm not exactly sure. But the new one, like I said, it had a nice gore factor to it. I enjoyed that, and I liked the ending of it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up this trailer. Let's see if I can see what he's talking about. Let's see if it works, buddies.
Yeah, it just came on Netflix, a couple days ago?
Is this it? Wait a minute.
Hey, Jason, on the gore factor, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was it?
Just like gore wise, and maybe not so much like storyline, like real big storyline. There was a couple scenes that I'd rank it pretty. I'd give it like it's a good solid 7. For there's a particular scene with a bus. I won't ruin it, but it was pretty fascinating. I enjoyed it.
Well, I'll tell you what gory movie I really like is the House of a Thousand Corpses.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah,
the Devil's Rejects and
the Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, Rob Zombie's films. What you think of his Halloween version of Halloween years ago?
I really didn't watch it.
Why not?
I was probably doing something else. Was it good?
Geez. Yeah, it was good. I thought it was good.
I'm gonna have to check it out then.
Yeah, I like
but
his movies.
That boy can. He has a mind. I'm telling you.
Oh, absolutely.
He's way out there. Do you ever watch any Rob Zombie movies there, Jen? Uh-oh. We know what that means.
Oh no, is that the flea market magic 8-ball?
There it is.
Have I ever? No. I like Walking Dead. No, I'm watching that, but nothing. I'm not really into zombies that much. I'm more into vampires, aliens, ghost stories.
No, he meant Rob Zombie.
I don't know who Rob Zombie is.
What?
What?
Oh
Lord.
my God.
You are sacrilegious there, honey.
He was the lead man of White Zombie, then Rob Zombie.
Yeah, it's just like I didn't watch that Christmas thing either, so I'm just stupid or whatever.
I saw him and Marilyn Manson right before the shutdown.
Marilyn Manson freaks me out. I saw him on oh God, The Sons of Anarchy. And he was also, there were some scenes on Walking Dead with him too, wasn't there?
He's actually highly, highly intelligent. If you watch some of his older interviews with people.
Okay, Trish, what is your Mr. Predictor question?
Oh gosh, I don't.
Just pick one because it's really getting
now.
Come on.
I don't have one.
Is Jenny going to have nightmares if she watches the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Sean, what is your...
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
Am I going to see leprechauns and fairies in my next gold prospecting trip?
Oh, Jesus.
And of course, it don't work.
It's a shame you can't see the lights.
What's that?
It's best not to say no. See, you guys can't see. I don't know why the colors aren't coming up.
No, I'm not.
I thought he said something else.
Oh, I'll be damned.
It has been determined so.
Oh, really? Is it no or yes?
I can't.
Yes.
Okay.
You can't see how pretty the colors are. I don't know why it's
You
not.
kind of see the reflection. I saw purple and blue.
Oh, you see it? Because I can't see it. Now, is Jason going to get sassy tonight?
Fine, say no.
He does look kind of tired. He's off his game on the.
Highly doubtful.
So Where did you find that thing?
Oh, I find a lot of weird things. Are you having? Did you have? I thought you had a ghost investigation last week. What happened?
We went down to the Buxton House. This is our second time, and there was like 5 of us down there, and they had 40 people for the investigation.
Did you see any ghosts?
Nah, not really. Bunch of orbs on my trail cams, but we did get this one thing where Jessica caught on with a cat ball, and I'm going to send it to you if I can.
Cat bomb.
Yeah, it's a little. There's a cat. There's a ghost cat down there. His name is what was his name? Major Buxton.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and let me find it.
So it was a cat?
There's a cat in room number 9. Okay. And Jessica bought this little ball that if it is touched or something's closer on it, it will light up.
It's a ball that lights up.
Yeah. So I'm going to send it to you. I just sent it to you.
What is it?
The light doesn't go off until 20 seconds in. It's a 33
I'll have
seconds.
to find it.
I just sent it in Messenger.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can make this bigger.
You got this, Jenny.
I know it's not very easy. Let me tell you. Oops,
But it was
Either
pretty
pepper.
good. The 40 people that were there, they had a good time. They were impressed. But coming around 2 in the morning, everyone was tired. So, but
Wait a minute.
see the ball going off?
I gotta get. Yeah, there we go. Oh, really? That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And it was going off by itself.
Yes.
What did you ask it? Did you ask it a
I
question?
wasn't there when it.
Did you start meowing?
I don't know. Ask her. I don't know, but she sent that to us.
You think the little cat was playing with it?
Yeah. See, there it goes.
I believe it. What about you, Trish? You believe that?
Yeah, I see a lot of probably cat spirits more than most. I read this. I was gonna say I read this funny thing about redheads and cats the other day. Somebody posted, while the rest of the species is descended from apes, redheads are descended from cats. If you're betwixt and between, trust the one with red hair.
There you go.
What the hell's that?
It's the cat meowing while it touches the ball there, Sean.
Where is that? Is that your cat there, Trish?
No, it's not mine.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. That's about the best evidence we got. Right
It
there.
is.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
There's nothing else in that room this time.
Just a cat. Just
So
that thing.
What about was you guys in room 8 too?
I was in roommate, me and Augie and Jessica and what's his name? Her boyfriend Andy. We're in 9.
Because they said room 8 was the one that had faucets turning on or something.
Yeah.
And then room 9 had the cat spirit apparently, and was it Mrs. Buxton or something would haunt that room?
Yeah,
I think they
Mrs.
said.
Bucks on 9. Now, Augie had his camera rolling at night, all night long, so he hasn't gotten back with his. So hopefully, because
Yeah, I
was
still gotta look at mine too.
I was taking a nap, and Augie was in the bathroom, and he heard walking on our floor because we had wood floors. And he thought, oh, it's Sean. And then when he came out and saw me zonked out, he said, I better get my camera going. So we'll see what happened.
Yeah, I still got to go over my surveillance cameras and see if there's anything from room 9. So I had 2 of them running.
2.
From
Now
the
I
time we
set
got
up
there till the next day.
You know, I set up my trail cam down in the tavern, right? And Augie put it in a place, and he told the people, do not sit here. Do not sit here. And what do? They sit there. So I caught a bunch of people looking at the camera and laughing. And I'm like, oh, man. But I did catch some orbs moving while they were there. So it was pretty cool.
Who was laughing? Because they were just laughing. People.
How
were they laughing?
At the camera when it would go off.
They were laughing.
So he told them, do not sit there. I got a camera there. Do not sit there.
Well, of course,
And
when you
they-
tell somebody not to do something, the first thing they're going to do is do that something.
The hell's that noise?
Jenny's just having a good time over there.
I was just having a good time with, sounds like the
Oh,
women
okay.
were laughing at you.
Is that what that is? What app is that from?
Oh, we're just playing with sound effects.
The Laugh at Sean app.
Yeah, love it. Yeah.
I'm sure there's about 200 of them. Got my own audience.
There you go. Or you get the devil one.
So we go down there one more time on the 26th of March, and that would be it. I don't think I'm going to do that again.
What? Go on the 26th?
No. Do it next year.
Why?
Why not?
I just.
You don't. It's not fun.
I'd rather have our team do the whole place ourselves.
There you go.
But it's a business, so they had to lock everything up. 2:00 in the morning, and that was it. All we could do was investigate the rooms.
There you go. Because you're like.
Do you think if it was like open and they would let us do like the whole complex, it would be
Exactly.
a different ball game?
Oh heck yeah! In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Maybe next time you'll be able to get a ghost.
Oh God!
You know how weird that would be if that's what spirits sounded like.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
Like if
them.
you caught spirits on your camera and that's all you heard.
Can you imagine her in bed sleeping, and all of a sudden she hears that magic 8-ball go off? Man, that would be cool.
Yeah, or the ghost howling.
Jenny be blowing up chat.
Yes,
Oh,
you would.
like,
speaking
oh, I
of
can't believe it
sound
just happened.
effects, I was on the phone with someone who had called me, and we started talking about fairies. And her she said her friend had a very close relation to the fairy realm, and who had passed away years ago, and she was talking about telling me about this specific location. And right when she was telling me that, this notification comes across my phone. She could hear it too. That sounded like that 8-ball, like a magical, I was like, and I don't have any notifications like that. I don't even know where it came from. But obviously, I mean, it was meant to be. It was right when she was talking about her friend related to the fairy realm that passed away. So I thought that was cool.
So what's on the agenda for next week, Miss Cindy?
We have, let's see, March 1st is Mike Torrey. I'll tell you in exactly 1 second what if I can figure out where the heck my, let me see, Mike. I have so many guests lined up.
Good.
I can't pronounce his.
What's his specialty?
I'll let you know in 1 second. He is. I got him from the website, and I'm going on his website now. He sent me an email. He's a doctor of cosmic consciousness.
Oh my God.
Yes, and he talks about the fifth kind UFOs and contactees, and he's a clinical hypnotherapist. He's a motivational speaker, so it should be an interesting show because he's going to talk about alien contactees, and he has a whole documentary called that. So you guys can look it up and watch it before the show. Is called Alien Contactee: A Conversation with Dr. Louis Torrey. And I'll send you guys the link too, so you can.
I want to thank all our guests who listened and who participated in the chat tonight.
Oh, absolutely!
Yes, thanks for tuning in.
Yes,
for Torture Tuesday.
I can't see the chat, but
2022.
Why can't you see the chat?
I changed everything on my computer so it would stop, completely crashing every time I logged on to StreamYard every week. So I was on time.
Yes, you were. You were on time. Yes.
I can't see the chat, but I'm on time.
Yeah, it was great. You're on time. I like when you're on time, Trish. But have a wonderful week. We'll see you here next week, same time, same channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to Torture Tuesday.
Yeah. Let me, I gotta find our, because I don't see.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yes,
yeah,
Carrie had a lot of good input.
Yeah. A lot of good input. We'll see you later, guys.